All right, guys. So, adding and subtracting rational expressions, level 2. Okay, and we're only going to go up to level 2, so this is the last level here, okay? Now, notice here we have different denominators here, and what we want to do is treat these as factors. So, if they don't match, well, then we need to make them match, right? Now, there's no way I can multiply one number to the x minus 5, so I can turn it into x minus 2. Like, I can't multiply this by a 3, right? And think it'll make it become x minus 2. I just can't do that. Because if I multiply by 3, this will become 3x minus 15. I would need to distribute. Okay? So remember, we're going to have to multiply each side by a factor that would make both of these the same. Now, when we have binomials like this, x minus 5 or x minus 2, basically what we're going to do is multiply each side by the other factor. So we're going to multiply this by x minus 5 over x minus 5, and multiply this side by x minus 2 times x minus 2. That's the only way around this. So notice here, if I do that, I'll end up with x minus 2 times x minus 5 plus, and then x minus 2 times x minus 5. So you see that? Same denominators. It's just two factors being multiplied here. Now, what do I do for the numerator? Well, I just need to distribute. So notice this will be 7 times x minus 2. You can think of it like this. 7 times x minus 2, right? And so distribute. 7 times x is 7x. And then 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. So that's what I get in the numerator. For the next one here, notice it's plus sign. So now we're going to go ahead and multiply x plus 2 times x minus 5. Now remember, we used to do these here using the box method. So let me do that. X plus 2 and x minus 5. So it'll be x squared and then 2x, negative 5x, and then negative 10. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in here. That'll be x squared, and then negative 5x and 2x makes negative 3x, and then finally negative 10. Okay? So I have here a trinomial. Up here I just distributed and I got this binomial here. Notice our denominators are still the same. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go ahead and add the numerators, but I'm going to keep my denominator the same, x minus 2 times x minus 5. I do not want to multiply the denominator out, okay, because I may want to be able to cancel out something on top. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to combine like terms now. Since it's addition, that means this remains unchanged. If it were subtraction, I would have to distribute a negative 1, but I don't need to do that here. So let's go ahead and combine like terms. So notice there's no other x squared here, so it's just x squared goes first. I'm going to cross it out as I use them. 7x minus 3x is going to be 4x. And cross those out. And then negative 14 and negative 10 makes negative 24. Okay? I can try to factor this, see if it factors out. Let me just go ahead and try over here off to the side. I'll do my work here. We're trying to get a 4 here. Well, I know 6 times 4 is 24, but that won't give me a 4. I need a positive 4, right? And so I would need to make the small one negative, but that's not going to work. 6 minus 4 is 2, not 4. So 12 times 2, how about that? No, that's not going to give me a 4 if I wanted to. What about 8 times 3? That won't work either. 8 minus 3 is going to be 5. And then what else do we have? 6 times 4. What about, well, 1 times 24 is not going to work either. So it looks like this cannot be factored. Okay. So that means that this is my answer. If I can't factor this, then that means I have to leave it that way, and I can't cancel out an x minus 2 or an x minus 5 with the top because there isn't any of those on top. Okay, so that means this is my final answer. Okay. Now take a look at this next one here. It's written backwards here, 6 minus x. Okay, so what we're going to do here is like we did on the last lesson. We're going to make sure that everything is written in standard form. Okay, so notice that's in standard form. In other words, the 7x is first, and then the plus 2, x is first here, and then x is not first here. So I'm going to rewrite this as negative x plus 6. I'm going to cross that out. Okay, now notice here we have a negative x plus 6 and a positive x plus 6. What I can do here is I can factor out a negative 1, and this will leave me with x minus 6. Notice if you distribute, negative 1 times x is negative x, and negative 1 times negative 6 is a positive 6. Great, now we have x minus 6 in common. and x minus 6. Now, there's a very easy step that we can do here to get rid of this negative 1. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, just multiply this side by negative 1 over negative 1. Sure, you could do that. Or you could just multiply this side by negative 1 over negative 1 and watch what that will do. It'll get rid of this negative 1 here and make it positive 1. Okay? So notice here, I'll be left with 7x plus 2 over x minus 6 plus, and then on top I'll have negative 5 over, and then notice here, negative 1 times negative 1 is going to be positive 1, so I'll just be left with x minus 6. See what's inside the parentheses here. I could put parentheses around it or not, it makes no difference. Okay, so now that I have the same denominator, I can go ahead and perform the operation in the numerator. So this will be 7x and then plus 2 minus 5, right? So let's just go ahead and write x minus 6 down here, and then we'll have 7x, and then 2 minus 5 is going to be negative 3. Okay, and you can try to factor this, but it won't work, so then that means this is my answer there. Okay, now what if I don't have a fraction right here? It's 1 over x plus 3 minus 5x over nothing, right? Well, really, we could just think of it as over 1. Okay, now when our denominator is just 1 and the other denominator is something else, it's very easy to get common denominators because you just need to multiply this one here with the 1 underneath by the denominator of this one here. So we're going to multiply this by x plus 3 over x plus 3. Okay? And so what that's going to do is this one's going to come straight down without changing. And then it's going to be a minus sign right here. And this will be 1 times x plus 3, which is just going to be x plus 3. Okay? But watch, let's distribute here. This will be 5x times x, which is 5x squared. And then 5x times 3 is going to be 15x, so plus 15x. Okay? Now we have to be very careful here because notice here, what we did up here is basically distribute the 5x with the x plus 3. Okay? But this minus sign means that we're really going to subtract these terms here. Okay? And another way to look at it is, think of it this way. Think of it as you're adding a negative. So we're really going to distribute a negative 1. And whenever you distribute a negative 1, all you're really doing is changing the signs of the terms. Okay, so this will become negative 5x squared minus 15x. Okay, if you multiply everything by negative 1, it'll just change the signs. Okay, so let's write everything down on the next step here. So this will be 1 over x plus 3 plus, let's put x plus 3 down there again, negative 5x squared minus 15x. Okay? Now, since we have like terms in the denominator, right, that means we can go ahead and just write it as a single fraction, x plus 3 in the denominator, and then just combine like terms up here. But notice there are no like terms. So that means I'm just going to write everything in standard form. So negative 5x squared minus 15x plus 1. Okay? Now, I have been telling you guys that if it starts off with a negative, you can always factor out a negative 1. Okay, so if you wanted to, you can go ahead and just factor out a negative 1 here and then just change all the signs here. It'll be 5x squared plus 15x minus 1. Okay? Now, if you do factor out a negative 1, then that means the whole thing really becomes a negative. So this will become negative, and then we can write it as 5x squared plus 15x minus 1 over x plus 3. So you could have either left it like this before I factored out the negative 1, or you could just put the negative out on front and then just write everything else after you factored out the negative 1. So here we have 5x squared plus 15x minus 1 over x plus 3. Okay? Now, what if I have like just an x here and then x minus 9 right here? Again, you cannot just multiply this by minus 9, because if I do, this will make this a negative 9x instead of x minus 9. So what we did, like in this example here, let me pull it up here. Like what we did on the first example, we're just going to have to multiply the other side by the denominator here. So I'm going to multiply this side by x over x, and this side by x minus 9 over x minus 9. Okay, so basically I'm going to distribute there. So this will be x times x minus 9. I like to put the monomial first. That's usually the way it is written. And then x times x minus 9 down here. So you see, now we have common denominators. And distribute here. So notice this is kind of like 7 times x minus 9, right? The 7 out in front. So 7 times x is 7x. 7 times negative 9 is negative 63. Okay, there's that minus sign again. We have to come back to it later on, okay? So this will be x times 5x plus 7. So it'll be 5x squared plus 7x. Okay? So again, I distributed the x. X times 5x is 5x squared, and then plus 7x. Now, let's go ahead and remember, subtracting is the same as adding a negative 1. Okay? And so what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and distribute this negative 1 here. This will be negative 5x squared minus 7x. Okay, so negative 1 times 5x squared is negative 5x squared, and negative 1 times positive 7x is negative 7x. Okay, and so we're really distributing a negative here. Okay, it's sorry, I said earlier adding the opposite. That's what I should have said. Subtracting is really the same as adding the opposite. Okay, so I can cross that out right there. And now let's go ahead and combine like terms. Okay, so now 5x squared is going to go first, but let me write my denominator. X times x minus 9, and then negative 5x squared goes first. Cross it out. 7x minus 7x, well, that cancels out actually. And then we have negative 63. Okay, since it leads with a negative here, that means I can factor out a negative 1. And so again, factoring out a negative 1, it just changes all the signs here. So it'll be 5x squared plus 63. We're just undistributing the negative 1 here. Okay, and so my answer I can write with just a negative out in front, and it'll be 5x squared plus 63 over x times x minus 9. Okay, last one. And by the way, that one you could not factor out the numerator here. Okay, now take a look at this here. We have x plus 6 and then a trinomial here. Let's factor this trinomial, see if we get an x plus 6 there. So let's see here. This will be x times x and then negative 24. We tried this earlier. We need a positive 2. Oh, 6 and 4 works for that. 6 times negative 4 will be negative 24, and then 6 minus 4 is 2. So this will be x plus 6, which is what we have right there, and then x minus 4. Okay? And so now, notice here, we don't have common denominators, but they both have x plus 6. And so all I need over here is an x minus 4. So I'm going to multiply this side by x minus 4 times x minus 4. Okay? Perfect. Now I'll have common denominators. I'll have x minus 4 times x plus 6 minus, and then over here again the denominator, x minus 4 times x plus 6. Notice that it was in the other order, but I can rewrite it this way because of the commutative property. Okay? Alright, so now let's distribute here. This will be 5 times x is 5x, and then 5 times negative 4 is negative 20, and then negative 3. Okay? Alright, so now basically I'm just combining like terms. Now remember, this is the same as adding a negative, or adding the opposite. So it'll be a negative 3 there, okay? So this will be x minus 4 times x plus 6. And then on top I have 5x minus 23. Okay? Since there's no negative leading here, I don't need to factor out a negative. Okay? So that means that's it. I can't factor that either, so this is my answer. Okay? And that's it.